It's a tough deal to vote for. We voted on it just this Friday. I think that we need to get our hostages back. We need to get them back. And it was very emotional to see the three first women come back home. We want to see them all come back. We also need peace in our region. We must make sure that Hamas does not have the capabilities to target Israel again. Hamas cannot survive after this round of violence. We must have neighbors that seek peace with us and not want to destroy us.
To my question though, do you consider this a strategic victory?
No, I don't think it's a strategic victory. A strategic victory is to bring peace to the Middle East. It is to make sure Iran, the head of the snake, the one that wants to have nukes in order to wipe Israel off the map, we need to make sure they never have that. There are fingerprints of Iran all over our region, all over October 7. We must make sure they pay a heavy price for that. We must go after the jihadists, the Muslim Brotherhood in Lebanon, in Gaza, all over the world, and we must expand the Abraham Accords. This would be a strategic victory, and I believe we're in the path to get there, not this deal.
So you say there are issues with this deal. That obviously raises the question of, do you believe the ceasefire will hold? We are seeing signs of fragility on this deal. And of course, you yourself as a lawmaker have just said it is not a strategic victory for Israel. So what are the prospects for this particular deal, and will it last?
To get our hostages back. We're willing to pay a price, and we are paying a heavy price. Israel's happy, not everyone in Israel is happy with this deal. In all of our hearts, we want it. We want our hostages that were taken by pajamas after their families were murdered, butchered, raped, and held in terrible conditions, in dungeons underneath the ground. We want them back. And we will do, and we are doing many, many things. Side by side to that, we want to make sure it never happens again. Now, Hamas thinks it'll survive this deal, this round of violence, and do it again and again. We will never allow that to happen. We must replace the Hamas leadership with leadership that wants to seek peace with Israel. Unfortunately, we're not there yet.
President Biden allowed Israel to wage 15 months of war in Gaza. On his watch and under Netanyahu, we saw tens of thousands of innocent Palestinians being killed in Israel's campaign to eradicate Hamas in Gaza. How is that President Biden not supporting Israel? He has been Israel's best friend.
He has been supportive, and
actually,
we've thanked them a lot. We've thanked the U.S. administration.
And actually, there'd be a lot of people around the world who say no one enabled Israel more in terms of aid and weaponry than President Biden, for better or worse.
We thank President Biden. We did, and we are, and we're thankful. His strategy is different than the strategy of the new administration, of President Trump. And our attitude is very, very clear. Be bad with the bad guys and good with the good guys. Now, the challenge we have in Gaza is what they've done is they embedded all the terror infrastructure in the civil infrastructure, in schools, in mosques, in homes, in hospitals. They took cover underneath and using the civilians as cover. And look what happened in Lebanon. It's not the case in Lebanon. In Lebanon, the terrorists, Hezbollah, were not part of heavily civilian neighborhoods. And therefore, we have much, much less civil casualties in Lebanon than we had in Gaza. And the reason is that we don't want to hurt innocent people. However,
Minister,
when they hide behind the civilians,
Minister,
we're telling the... bear with me 1 second, okay?
Minister, you know...
Bear with me a second.
You know, Minister, I mean, you have to explain that comment a little bit further. That is outrageous to say. Tens of thousands of innocent people have died as a result of Israel's war in Gaza.
With all due respect,
you know that.
We've told them to shy away from the terrorists. And with all due respect, if you look at every proportion, every ratio in the world, in wars, one of the best ratios of
war. How do you think history will remember this war, given the amount of civilian casualties?
What are you talking about? You know how many civilians were killed in the Second World War all over the region? With all due respect, that's unfair. Look at the numbers. Look at the real numbers. The real numbers demonstrate that relative to any other war that any Western world had, in civil ecosystems like we had, it's the smallest ratio of casualties relative to terrorists. And nobody had such experience like
Women,
Israel does.
Children.
It's very unfortunate, and we don't want anybody innocent to die.
Schools, hospitals.
All of them with
Medical
infrastructure
facilities.
of terror. All of them have infrastructure of terror. Open your eyes. Don't you understand what they've done? What they've done is they've targeted civilians and hid behind civilians. We hide our civilians underneath in shelters. We protect our civilians. They put their civilians up front to be killed. And then they go to the world and say, hey, Israelis killed civilians. They don't care about their own lives. They don't care how many people die. We do. And what Israel invented new ideas of how to fight in Gaza. Do you know what it means to knock on the roof? Knock on the roof is you have a small little bomb on the roof to tell you that in half an hour, move away because this building has infrastructure and we're going to take it down. We used everything that we could do not to hurt innocent civilians. And it's very unfortunate, but it's Hamas's fault. They have to take all the responsibility to what they've done. They hide behind their own civilians, and when there are casualties, they cry about it. They have to take accountability and responsibility. They started the war. People forgot. They went in, killed, butchered, raped, beheaded, took people with their pajamas back to Gaza. And still we have a number of them. Unfortunately, a lot of them they just killed.